Hi there guys. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for watching my other project videos. It's been very pleasant surprised to see how many people have enjoyed watching them. And second of all, I have to say apologize for taking so long before I started my another project, which is today. It must have been like 1 year I didn't do anything, and that is due to a few different reasons. One is that our family is expanding. We are having a baby. For that reason, I'm going to have to make a cradle. That's going to be interesting. I've never done cradles before. I already have some kind of plan in my mind, but it's all only in my mind. And to begin, I started by cutting this kind of thing out of cardboard. This is going to be one of the legs. So I already cut this half, and now I will just mirror it on the both sides. And this piece of oak. Let's see how it's going to look. Like that. And then to the mirror. So now we're going to use this part that I already cut to make another one. Obviously, at this point, this is just a very rough sketching still. First of all, I would normally use a bandsaw, but I don't have a bandsaw. And what this kind of saw does, it's bending the blade when I push it, and that's the reason why this is not even. Look carefully. I don't know if you can see that, but see the curve in here. That is something that I need to sandpaper off later. That does kind of bother me, but there's nothing I can do at the moment. So here is going to be the leg parts. I just cut these more thinner parts, which I'm going to glue later on top of the big, thicker ones, like so. And I already marked the center in here, and there, in here, if you can see, in this area where I put the X's, I have to cut one piece away to create a slot where I can slide down the center part of the leg. And now I still need to figure out how to do that. And I was thinking it doesn't matter if I cut like all the way through here and just use a chisel, because this will then cover it, except there's going to be a hole in here, but nobody's going to be able to see that anyways. So that's one option. Then I have one special tool which allows me to sort of like cut this without using a circular saw. I'm still thinking whether I should use that or not. The reason is that is not a very precise tool. And after that, I think I'm ready to... Oh, actually, then I need to... Because between here is going to be one center part to like keep this part and make it more sturdy. I still need to create some kind of slot in here, but yeah, maybe I'll do it next. So to make the slot for the centerpiece in here, first I need to do is find the middle of there and draw a line. There we go. Okay, so I just adjusted my circular saw cutting depth just about here. So now I should be able to cut here and here. I'm not going to go all the way through, so it's not going to create any hole in the bottom. I'll just go right about here somewhere. So then I'm going to use the chisel to cut this away. Now I just get a bigger chisel and cut this part away. And next I'm going to glue these together to do it between, clamp them down and wait until tomorrow. Okay, so what I've done so far is these leg parts, and the glue is now dried, and I also did some sanding. And the next thing I'll have to do is fit this center beam here, and also the other end. So I already marked these crane lines. Okay, so now that I cut this here, I can just use a chisel and take the extra parts away. And before I take too much off, I need to do the test fitting so I don't accidentally take too much. Okay, so I just cut this extra part away. This should now should fit in here. It's just a little bit too big, so let's make it thinner. Oh. So there we go. Okay, now we're finally done this part, except I still wonder if I should use the router to make these a little bit more round, because now it's quite sharp, or at least I have to do something. But for the most part it's done now, and it'll go like here. Okay, well, I gotta tell you something I've already done here. Because the actual bed part is gonna swing like here, I started making these sides on both sides, and I wasn't quite sure how I'm gonna do them, so I kind of started experimenting with different kind of joints. And I think maybe this is called a box joint. Maybe this is called a box joint, I don't know. But this is the one I'm going to use. So what I did is just cut these long pieces of oak and cut that corner away later. So later I will just glue them together like so. But because I don't want the bed sides to be exactly straight up, it's not going to be like a box. I want them to slant it a little bit on the sides, so they go like outwards. Maybe it even helps to put the baby inside and get her off. And so I think I need to use the table saw and cut this a little bit in an angle. Okay, so I'm ready to do the cutting of these bottom parts, and I already tilted the angle of the blade 12 degrees, and that should give us enough of tilting on the sides. Okay, that went pretty well. But now, the hardest part is going to be cut this angle in here. And I already know that I cut this in 12-degree angle. Now I have to replicate the same in there, and then then redo this part, because I already done that and changed my mind about the design later. So I already draw the line in here. And what I did is I placed this on the table and use it as a ruler and then just draw in here. So that was quite simple. And also I have to, because I cut part of this away, I have to do the same in here, see it's higher, so gotta even that out. So I'm gonna do this in a few steps because I cannot lock this certain angle in here. So first I have to get a small piece out and see if that is parallel to the line I drew. Okay, to solve this issue here, this piece is higher than the side ones. I actually came with a pretty easy solution. Very easy. I'm just using this angle here and like continue the same angle in this part. Just gonna cut that little corner away and maybe smoothen that cut mark. Okay, now I have to fit this part, and there's some extra in there, so I'm using this tiny planer to slowly remove that material. Just a notch more. As the bottom of the bed, it will be a plywood, which I'm going to sink in here. So I need to use the router table and take some part away from here, just to make it deep enough so this would be a flush. So now just change the bit because I want to make the rounding on both sides of the centerpiece that is like between the legs. There we go. So we're gonna use some sandpaper. So these two parts which I just cut will be standing right about there, and the actual bed will be hanging from there. I still have to figure out how tall I'm going to make it and what kind of shape I will also. So what I have done here today is I cut these small beams, and later I will cut them in half, so I have 22 of them. And these are going to stand like vertically on both sides of the bed. Still got to do like tons of sanding, and after that I'm going to rub all these four corners to just make it more round. I just set up my router table with this rounding bit, and I set up in a way that it will only eat a little bit of the wood. Okay, now I can set up the slider on the table saw with this stop block, so I can cut them, all of them exactly in half. This kind of slider table is really handy when you have to repeat something over and over again. I have to drill a bunch of holes to these beams I just cut and routed. And to make it easier, I came up with this kind of idea where I clamp it in the middle between these two 2x4s, and I also marked my drill bit so all the holes will be roughly the same depth. These sticks here, I already sanded and glued these dowels in here. These are the ones that will make the sides of the bed. So they will come in here. I already drilled the holes in here. Also, what I have to do next is cut these shorter because I didn't drill the holes very deep. Then I still have to do a lot of sanding on these parts and also use the router just to get a little bit of that corner away because it's quite sharp. The parts I'm going to do next will be the where you have the sides of the bed. This will be the top rail on both sides. Before I can start shaping these rail parts, I need to first cut it on the correct length and then copy the locations of these holes in here. So it will eventually be positioned here, like so. The underside I'm going to just round a bit, but the top side will be all round, at least almost. The bed frame is now ready to be glued, and I built this jig so it's easier to clamp, and also because the sides are slanted outwards, I also cut these in a 12-degree angle so it gives a good pressure in there. And the reason I brought it inside is it's still pretty cold in the shop, so glue will set faster inside. And one more time, I want to check everything's square. Because even though it's quite sturdy, it might have moved a little bit when I carried it inside. Yesterday I also cut these parts, quite simple, just make it round from there, and also do this kind of thing in here that I can just stick in here. That's quite a snug fit. When I start doing this part, I'll just do it off camera because basically it's just cutting wood in a different shape. I just cut these kind of pieces. They are going to make the ends of the bed, like so, and then I'm going to drill a hole in here and put an axle, and the whole thing is going to hang from this location. And I just marked the center line in here, and then found these locations on both sides where I'm going to drill holes so I can put the wooden dowels in here and just plug it in. Okay, to find correct locations for these parts to be drilled, I'm going to use these kind of little pins. I have a center mark in there, and I push them inside these holes, and then just align it with this, and it's going to leave a mark not sure if you can see that, but the marks are there. Okay, got the holes in here. I just plug this in. I will still have to put some glue here though. I'm just going to try to fit if it fits inside. There we go. The sides of the bed that I made earlier, they will come hanging from here. And there's an axle. Actually, this 10mm bolt. We'll put that through, but also I'll use a ball bearing, which I'm going to put inside there. So that will make the movement more quiet and smooth. There's one thing you need to remember when you drill this big hole. So you don't want to go through all the way from this one side. At one point, when you feel it, it's going to go through. I'm going to flip it over so you get even cut on both sides. Seems like it's burning through. So I gotta check it once in a while. Oh, that is going on. I think I can just push it inside. Yeah, it's gonna go there. No, I just I'm testing the mechanics now, and it seems very smooth. And the next thing I still need to put in here is to make this more stable. One beam down here. Now when I have this on place, I can just measure the height where I want it to be. And then after that I will find the center here and make holes here where I can use dowels to put the center beam in place. When I started making the beam between these two legs, I realized that I don't have long enough piece of oak, so I have to expand the one I have. And to do that, I'll have to cut a couple inches long and cut like half of it away so I can just put them together and then become one. Okay, now the glue is set on this center beam, and did some sanding and routing, and it's pretty good. There's a little gap there, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to be under here and the bed will be on top, so pretty much nobody can see that. So now we can just put it on its place. Still need to glue it though, but first one just to fit and see how it looks. There. Makes it so much sturdier. So from here on, and it's pretty much just putting things together and just gluing and tons of sanding them. That is something I still have to do pretty much everywhere. And after that, I can do some kind of decorations on both sides here, so to cover this ball bearing hole. And when this is hanging here, I'm going to put some kind of knot here just to cover the bolts. And the cradle is almost done, but there's a couple things I have to do still. First is cut these bolts on both sides to correct length. And then put a special blocks between here so it prevents the movement this way. Before I can pull the bolts out, I'm going to mark the cutting distance. So, To make this knob that will cover this hexagon end of this bolt, cutting it will be a little bit tricky because it goes so small. But before cutting, I have to trace this hexagon shape so I can use the chisel and make a hole for it. So now I will just carve this depth into this wood. To cut this piece off, I actually use this kind of drill. I just remove the center piece and try to work it out. It's a little bit wobbly without it. Okay, for the decoration, I'm going to use paulownia panel. First, cut a smaller piece from here, glue it on top here so I have more depth to carve. So now I just cut these spacer blocks, but I run into a big problem because these are way too thick and I need to cut them somehow. I was thinking about sanding, but that's going to take forever because it's oak, and anyways I have to take maybe I don't know, a few millimeters at least. So chisels are out of the question, but I'll check this out. Okay, make a hole in here, just a second. So these. Okay, so here's my idea. Now I can safely saw it with this table saw without fearing for my fingers. So simple, now it's done. Okay, here we go, it's done. Still there's a couple things I have to do is, well, a little bit sanding, and my wife told me that I should not paint it, I shouldn't oil it or anything, just leave it as it is. But I was thinking, is that wise? Maybe I should use some cooking oil or olive oil. I gotta do some research and see if that is anything possible or wise to do. And then there's still a couple of small mistakes I have to take care of. Anyways, here's the cradle that didn't work. Oh, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, y'all.